What up, everyone? DJ Nubis here with you on the Meltdown Radio podcast with another episode of Kaiju Spotlight. Today we were doing Destoroyah, and I have my special guest here, Kamen writer Geek. Thank you, sir, for being here with me today.
What's up? Glad to be here, man.
Thank you much. Thank you much. So Destoroyah, of course, as we go along through these spotlight segments, trying to focus on one particular kaiju. By many, Destoroyah is considered probably the biggest and strongest villain that Godzilla ever faced in a film. And of course, we're talking about Godzilla versus Destoroyah in 1995, where Destoroyah was introduced. And he's like one of the more interesting kaiju as well, because he's almost, I'm not gonna say exactly like Shin Godzilla, but he has this like metamorphosis, growth from one thing to another, which I find very interesting. So, he starts as like this form over here.
A microscopic crab thing grows into the not alien monster. Third form, the even less like an alien monster and still very crab-like. Of course, I'm going to notice one thing. I don't think Destoroyah had those big crab legs in those of his fifth form.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, no, you didn't. So it's kind of interesting. But then again,
I think this might be a fanfic.
yeah. So someone probably is like, "Hey, I like the crab look better" or something. That's probably what they were thinking to themselves. But do you remember the first time you saw this particular film?
Oh, yeah. It was probably about 97, 98 or so. I was still a teenager at the time. And I went to my local mall here in Vegas, and I bought it and a bunch of the Heisei. I think I bought all the Heisei movies that came out. Of course, back then, even though I know, it's Godzilla versus Destoroyah, in the movie it was Destroyer, and for years I thought it was Destroyer.
Yeah.
And I think Destroyer sounds better.
I think they actually changed it to Destroyer for the English dub, as opposed to, of course, the original Japanese Destoroyah. But so like I said, a lot of people think that, but this particular creature is like one of the strongest that Godzilla ever faced. Do you share that sentiment, or do you think?
I do, because I mean, you just watched the movie, and both fights between Godzilla and Destoroyah. Destoroyah pretty much beats Godzilla silly. At the end, yeah, Godzilla pulls one out his butt, but uh, uh, tail of the tape, man. Just watch. Godzilla was getting his ass curb stomped through the majority of the fights, and he straight up murked Junior.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Junior didn't stand a chance at all.
Yeah, he fucking took that poor boy's heart out.
Yeah. Well, some people thought that also that it wasn't necessarily Destroyer that kind of killed like Godzilla. Godzilla was more of like the nuclear meltdown did, which is kind of like the final form of Godzilla, because once he was overheating, that's it. Like he was gonna blow up at some point. I will ask you this, because again, some people kind of felt like it wasn't like when you talk about the very end. So you have Junior that passed away, and then Godzilla explodes. I was always under the impression that the radiation from that's what brought Junior back. Do you think that's the case, or do you think it was just Godzilla reborn?
I think it was Godzilla's radiation, because the way Junior looked, he looked like a larger version of what Godzilla looked like when he was the Godzillasaurus from Godzilla versus King Ghidorah.
Yeah,
and he was just bigger than that. And considering how radiation seems to affect these creatures in this particular movie series, I could very well see that's how Junior came to be. Came to be what we saw at the end of the movie.
Yeah, and I think that's true, because even you get the girls, the ones that are communicating with him, and they were all sad when Junior died. So I think in a way it was sort of like to kind of give the audience this more uplifting ending, as opposed to the really dark ending that it was going to have by having Junior come back and become like the future Godzilla, basically.
They basically they wanted to give the OG a proper send off, and that was a good send off. I still cry every time I watch Godzilla, meet his end. But they didn't want to shoot themselves in the foot and make it that Godzilla's dead. We can't make another movie like that. Ever stopped them before, so They let themselves a little bit of a thing like, oh well, the OG is dead, but we still have Junior. And then proceeded to never make another movie with Junior ever again.
Right. Okay, go through all that trouble. And we're like, we're just gonna
reboot the whole series. Fuck it.
Do you see Destoroyah as basically a sentient force that's more just born out of rage and malice, or do you think that Destoroyah actually had any kind of character? Like, could be.
He had a lot of character because watch the fights. This is not some creature that just born of rage and attacking and destroying because he's a personification of nature. That fucker was sadistic. Watch his fight with Junior. He drug him, or he did not have to do half the crap he did. He could have just punched into Junior's brain, done. But no, he had to punch him in the chest and then watch as the light faded from Junior's eyes. That is not a force of rage. That is a sadistic piece of that is a monster.
Yeah, that's evilness right there. No doubt about it. What did you think of the weapons and the weaponry that Destoroyah had to work with?
Oh, the oxygen destroyer beam, his ability to fly, those claws that look like they punch through anything. He didn't he didn't have a lot of gimmicks. The ability to change into that flying form and the ability to separate into to his aggregate forms, that was cool. But I don't think they went overboard with the gimmicks. On him, he was just the right kind of monster and just the right kind of powerful that he was impressive without being ridiculous. Oh yeah, and let's not forget the lightsaber horde.
Yeah, oh yeah, the beam and the horn, laser horn, those are like really cool things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they really did. They kind of gave him the ability to do a lot of different things like flying and all that. And that's a funny thing about this film too, was that unlike some of the other ones, even though Godzilla's always kind of had like this horror aspect, this one I felt like really had the horror aspect, especially with the Destroyer in its like more smaller form, where it's attacking and killing humans.
The scenes when he's attacking, when they're attacking the cop. It's a war between the aggregate forms and the cops. Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah. It has like just very horrific horror story or horror movie feel about it. It's not even really so much kaiju at that point. It's more like, dude, this is creepy as fuck. We got monsters running around eating us.
I feel that if you just removed the kaiju size stuff and just stuck with people having to fight off giant crab monsters, that would have been a good movie in its own right.
Yeah.
But we just got
the added things. Did you ever see Cloverfield?
Yes, I've seen Cloverfield. It's been years ago, like right after it came on video, but yeah, I have seen it.
Yeah, you remember the big monster when it's rubbing itself on the buildings and those little parasites drop down? That just kind of reminds me a little bit of what these creatures were. It's like little parasites to start out with as they're running around.
Well, I mean,
it's very horrific.
Yeah. Little parasites created by a weapon that man made to kill another monster. So we can't blame Godzilla for this, because like a lot of the other monsters, if you think about it, had in some ways something. I mean, Destoroyah had something to do with Godzilla, but all the monsters had a more direct connection, like Biollante, literally a partial clone of him,
yes.
as was fucking Space God. Wait, would you call Space Godzilla a clone or like a mutated space baby?
Yeah, I mean,
remember his DNA was taken from Biollante by Mothra into the sky and into space, and somehow the plant stuff got removed apparently, which is why Space Godzilla had no plant shit. Well, he had a little side mouse like Biollante did, so I guess that there's that trait.
Well, and plus, obviously, there's no oxygen in space, so that's could be a reason why. He doesn't have any affiliation with Biollante at that point. It's just more of like whatever's left of Godzilla's DNA. But obviously, Destoroyah was able to extract DNA from Junior a little bit in order for it to evolve. So again, Godzilla's like his own little disease that he like flickers around everywhere.
He's the Batman of the kaiju world. All his baddies are his fault some way. I mean, even Mecha Godzilla was original base. Actually, all the Mecha Godzillas were built specifically just to beat Godzilla's ass.
Yeah. That's one of the things too, because like I always for me, my favorite villain for Godzilla is of course King Ghidorah, but it's hard to argue just how destructive and strong that Destoroyah was, which of course was born out of the oxygen destroyer that was meant to kill Godzilla. So it's really kind of a clever concept that Toho came up with when they created this particular kaiju. But part of me also though is like, we never really get to see it because Godzilla is always like the focal point of these movies. But when you do those like Godzilla rivals, like the comics, it would be nice to kind of see like some of these other kaiju take each other on. Like I'd be curious how Ghidorah would stand up against Destoroyah and stuff like that. So
I be honest, I would want to give it to Destoroyah because Destoroyah is an absolute beast, but we have so many different versions of Ghidorah who is a beast on a whole different level. I mean, there's one version of Ghidorah that's basically just an interstellar space parasite of some sort, or was like space god. So, it was some kind of a metaphysical bullshit. I can understand why people don't really care for the anime.
Yeah. So here's the other thing too, is that obviously as Legendary's gone on, they're constantly trying to find like the constantly trying to up the ante in terms of like the type of creatures that are going to face either Kong or Godzilla in Legendary. And then, of course, Toho now working on -Zero. We kind of still don't know exactly what's going to happen there. A lot of fan theories about Destroy maybe being one of the creatures that could face either one in either, series. What is your thoughts? Like, do you think we're going to ever see Destroy in Legendary, or maybe see Toho bring him back?
If they do, I hope they find some way to do it justice, because if you bring him into a story that doesn't have the Oxygen Destroyer, since the Oxygen Destroyer I feel is like an integral part of Destoroyah, it's almost impossible. And if you do bring him in, you remove that tangential link to Godzilla, because the Oxygen Destroyer, like we were just talking, the Oxygen Destroyer was what was used to kill the first Godzilla, not defeat, kill. Because you watch the movie, he fucking dies. He turns into a skeleton, and his skeleton vanishes. He's dead. Yeah. And it was a really poetic, I feel, that in his final battle, he's not killed by Destoroyah, because if you watch, he's starting to Godzilla starts to go nuclear, and Destoroyah's like, fuck it, and decides to bolt. And it's the humans that actually killed Destoroyah. Yep. But it was poetic to have a Godzilla's final fight be against the very first thing that defeated him.
Yeah.
And if you remove that link, the Oxygen Destroyer, I don't know, it just feels hollower.
Yes. Yeah, it's clear, obviously, because in King of the Monsters, the Oxygen Destroyer was used. And so you would think, well, if Legendary is going to go that route, they do have that connection. They could always say that over time, from the other movies like GVK and Empire, that they can actually bring Destroyer now and say, yeah, well, this happened back then. It was just over time that Destroyer grew and grew and grew, and that's where we are. But of course, there's talks of maybe Space Godzilla being the one that he faces and stuff like that. So to me, I've always wanted to see Biollante again, because I think it works with the Earth and everything that's been going with like the Hollow Earth and stuff like that. And then of course,
Biollante and Space Godzilla make a lot more sense, because those are basically just like partial clones of Godzilla. So like, you could even combine Space Godzilla and Godzilla, considering how they were in the Heisei. Is like Biollante is like the pupil form, or like an earlier form of Space Godzilla. And as the movie goes on, Biollante like blossoms, and when it blossoms, out pops Space Godzilla, the more refined combination of genetics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like I said, those are easy to add. I'm sorry.
Right. I mean, for you, like, if they brought Destroyer into either Legendary or the Toho stuff in modern day, would you like to see any changes with the design or with some of the weaponry? Like either add something or subtract something? Like, what would you like to see?
If you add them into -1, I would say maybe keep the breath weapon, because Godzilla has a breath weapon. I would just hesitate. How would you explain the beam saber sword horn?
Yeah.
So maybe remove that, and also like it says, it's still fantastic movie. You can't say it's 100% realistic, because nuclear breathing lizard. But you also they would probably have to get rid of his ability to like split the tiny little crab things.
Yeah.
And instead of having a fully dedicated flying form, they just probably make his wings bigger.
Yeah. That would definitely be interesting. Of course, that's always the thing. It's kind of hard to do too, because as good as and as long as we've seen King Ghidorah and Rodan fight against Godzilla in the past, it does make it kind of like a weird dynamic, because if they can fly, it makes it hard for Godzilla to really kind of fight them unless they're on the ground.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, maybe if they made a modern version of Destroy, maybe not allow him to fly, just keep him on the ground somehow, but redesign them in some way that makes sense.
Make like that fan picture you put up a bit ago, where the fifth form was basically
Yeah,
super. Yeah, just
yeah,
remove the wings and bammo. There's your -1 universe destroyer. For like legendary, I mean, they already had the three-headed lightning storm summoning space dragon.
yeah.
Super crab that can split apart wouldn't be, I think, too far a stretch for the legendary universe.
Yeah, and it
I mean,
still keeps it close to the oxygen destroyer and the water and stuff like that. So it
yeah.
still keeps destroyer kind of like amphibious,
Yeah, what they could probably do is they wouldn't be able to do the whole, the oxygen destroyer they made before. What they could do is like introduce the oxygen destroyer early in the movie, but instead of having it be this impressive shit like it was in the first movie and the rest of the series when referring to it, have it be like a failed experiment, and they think, oh, it's failed, it's worthless, and discard it. But it didn't fail. What they did was, instead of making this oxygen destroying weapon, they created Destoroyah first as the microscopic little things like he was in his original movie, and then just as the movie goes on, getting bigger and bigger until near the end we get the fucking apex of full size Destoroyah and throw down with Kong and Godzilla.
Yeah. And that got me thinking too, because there was talk that in this next legendary film, which is going to center around Godzilla, a lot of the talk is maybe the what do you call it, the legendaries borrowing Godzilla, like paying to have Godzilla to be their primary kaiju, but that contract might be running out. So if they use Destroy or Space Godzilla to kind of end Godzilla, do you think they're going to try to? Oh, actually, I should probably answer my own question, because I think Toho has made it very specific that no matter who uses Godzilla, between them or the U.S., that they have to keep Godzilla alive somehow. Like, it's always got to be an
He
out.
cannot die.
Yeah. So that kind of answers my own question, because like I figure whenever we get to this next film in Legendary, that no matter if it's Space Godzilla or Destroy or whoever, that they got to find a way to keep Godzilla's legacy going forward. So I just don't know how they're going to do that, unless they kind of do what -1 did, and it's just like pieces of Godzilla kind of reforming or whatever.
Or because it'd be like the last movie Godzilla is in, just like, okay, this one time you're allowed to kill him, but that's because you're not getting him back anymore.
Right? Yeah, they just basically say, yeah, you can kill him off. But I think that would kind of piss off a lot of fans, though. Just
if they did it respectfully, I don't think they would. Only like the die-hard nerds that like to gatekeep the shit and don't want to see the stuff grow at all.
And that's a good point, because I think when they first made 54, I don't think they really thought about whether or not they were going to do any sequels to it. So at that time, as you said, the Oxygen Destroyer killed Godzilla. He was done. Like, he was toast.
Yeah, and in the next movie, where that in America was called Godzilla Raids Again, it wasn't even a Godzilla movie. It was just Gigantus the Fire Monster, and it was the movie that came after that where they retconned that Gigantus was actually just another species of Godzilla. But they still always made sure to point out that was a different Godzilla than the first one. The first one, dead.
Yeah.
Even in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, the one where they made the cyborg monstrosity Kaiju to fight him, they stressed that this Godzilla attacking was a different Godzilla than the one they made their Necroborg out of.
That's true. Very true.
Yeah, if you think about that movie, if you described it just right, you could describe Godzilla against Mechagodzilla as a freaking freaky horror movie.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing too. Like, I know for us as fans of the genre that it's difficult, because we would eat up anything. So like, if they came out tomorrow in Toho or even Legendary and said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna make," because like I've always wanted Legendary to do a standalone Ghidorah film, a standalone Rodan and Mothra film to go along with what they've been doing. And even though it would work out great for us as fans, like the majority of people don't really care about it. So it'd be kind of a waste of money because they probably wouldn't make their return on it. Unfortunately, but for me, from a fan point of view, I'm sure with you, like we would love that kind of shit because we would eat that up.
Oh hell yeah! I mean, look at the standalone movies Japan did of the Mothra movies, the Mothra trilogy. Right. I mean, realistically, that was just basically Mothra Ball Z.
Right,
each fucking movie, I mean, it was just like in the Dragon Ball Z series. Each movie, he meets a powerful new foe that beats his ass. He goes off, gets a brand new, fantastic power up, and comes back and beats the monster's ass. Tell me that's not Dragon Ball.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that back then they could take risk and just basically add in any kind of kaiju and create one, which they did a lot back then. That's why we've got so many to have fun with now. But try to do that with the budgets that are out there, it'd be very difficult. But I'm selfish, so I'd like to see it anyway.
I agree.
Because again, like you could just have so much, and especially when you have the type of technology we have now to create these very real life looking creatures on screen. Like when you watch, that was one of the greatest things about King of the Monsters for me, was watching Ghidorah and Rodan behave in the mannerism that I imagined when I watched them back in the day, when it was mostly just on strings and shit. So I really enjoyed what Legendary has done in terms of bringing them to life and making them look very much like they should.
Yeah. Visually, I agree. The Legendary movies did it best, but I believe the old school movies gave the monsters a lot more personality. Like in Godzilla versus the Space Monster and Godzilla and Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, the conversations that they had Godzilla and Rodan have, and apparently Godzilla being a potty mouth is just fucking glorious.
Yeah, well, that's obviously the more campy and more fun, stuff there. Obviously, Legendary's been treating it a little bit more seriously with their content, although they do still have like some very comical human characters.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They leave all the comedy for the human. They do give some of the monsters funny moments.
Yeah,
most of them
Kong, yeah.
But
yeah, I was gonna say Kong and especially in Empire, Kong and Godzilla do it.
Empire where Godzilla turns into a fucking cat.
Yeah. Or like when Kong's like trying to get Godzilla to jump down the hole and he's like pointing, but Godzilla's busy trying to kick his ass.
Yeah, like, please listen, we need to save the world. Fuck you, we fight now.
Yeah, it's like no, you aren't supposed to be up here in my land.
We had a deal, monkey.
Yep.
But speaking of that, like a lot of people said with Godzilla versus Kong, that Kong legitimately didn't stand a chance against Godzilla. And if you watch, the only reason he didn't die would be because luck. I feel the same way if he fought any version of Destroyer that wasn't nerfed to the ground. Kong cannot stand up against Destoroyah anyway. No. So if Destoroyah does show up, Godzilla is 100% going to be doing the majority of the work, which is probably if it is the movie where they retire Legendary Godzilla, that's how he dies fighting Destoroyah, and Kong is able to defeat Destoroyah because Destoroyah at that point's already been fucked up fighting Godzilla.
And that's the funny thing too, is that. And it's not Legendary's fault because they didn't know exactly how far they were going to get with their movies, but really kind of King of the Monsters really should have been like their end cap, because really that should have been like the mass, like, final battle type thing. Because clearly if you put Kong in that film, he's not going to last very long against hardly any of them. Even Mothra might get her way with him because she's just too fast.
Yeah.
But they didn't know how far they were going to get with this stuff. So, I can't really blame them for saying, hey, you know what? if we don't ever do another movie, we're just gonna blow our load right now. Let's just do it.
And also, King of the Monsters was a perfect endpoint. Godzilla beating Ghidorah, and then there's just the last scene of him roaring to the sky as all the monsters just fucking kneel, even though some of the monsters legitimately shouldn't have been able to physically kneel. But, it's a cool scene. Let's ignore that.
Right. And again, you did say about like the personality. So like even Rodan was like bowing.
Yeah.
After getting his ass kicked so many times by Ghidorah and Mothra, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna fight Godzilla.
Yeah, no, I've already been pwned enough. Which is how you bring in a flying monster in a Godzilla movie, and how you can make both him and Godzilla looking strong and never have face each other, because realistically, even with a breath weapon, Godzilla is not going to be able to do much to a flying creature that's fast enough. So they brought in Rodan and just had him fight Ghidorah and get punked, and then fight Mothra and get punked. Though I honestly, a bird fighting a moth and losing, yeah, that bird deserves to die in an evolutionary sense.
Yeah, I thought that was funny, which was interesting. I mean, obviously, Mothra, like giving her a stinger was an interesting choice, but I thought it was kind of cool. It gives her something extra there, which, over time they've done that with Mothra, where they've given her different abilities in different movies. So
yeah, usually it's like something to do with like the scales off her wings. Like in the early movies, she could use the scales off her wing to poison you, but if she did, it would also make her unable to fly somehow.
Yeah.
Then in Mothra Leo just got beam attack after beam attack, and that's how they handled that.
Yeah,
and then
the Aqua one always got me. The Aqua Mothra.
Yeah. Yes, he's a moth who can swim. Why? Because he's fighting a water monster. Will he ever use those powers again? Probably not. Okay, then. Of course, he doesn't use any of the power-ups from the previous movie in the newer one, much like Goku does. No, wait, no.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually enjoy the fact that the more simpler Mothra, I don't mind like the dust, the fairy dust and stuff, which I think is cool. Because you do have to kind of give Mothra at least a little something more than what she initially had in the beginning. So I don't mind that they kind of give her a little bit more in Legendary, which is kind of nice. But in your opinion, like, what do you think is the final legacy for Destroyer? Like, do you think we'll ever see Destroyer again in another film, or how do you think going forward that will people remember Destroyer? Which I'm pretty sure they will, because again, it's considered one of the big final bosses that's able to really kind of take down Godzilla by itself. So how do you feel about the legacy of Destoroyah?
I am satisfied with his legacy. Yeah, he was only in one movie, but in that one movie, he had about as much impact as Ghidorah did in just a couple movies. Yeah, Ghidorah has been used in more movies and uses more of a big boss, but I feel that makes Destoroyah special because he was so goddamn awesome. He only ever showed up in one actual movie, and the Godzilla Island series that ran for like 240 something episodes.
Yeah, and I think what was good about that too is that particular movie was well thought out. So even you mentioned it earlier that when they killed off Godzilla, like it was done enough to like make an impact. And you said yourself, like, you get teary-eyed watching it, so do I. And so it's like it's an emotional roller coaster in that film, but then also the impact and the viciousness of Destoroyah stands out. As much as I love Ghidorah more than Destoroyah, like Destoroyah is a much more formidable kaiju against Godzilla, and it's like that movie itself stands out through a lot of the other films that we all love, but that one is one that stands out a lot because of just how it impacts us both emotionally as well as our amazement at how destructive Destoroyah can be.
And it's also just how they the scene does so well is because the scene was shot well. The little touches they hear, like Godzilla shrieking, growing more high pitched as he melts. I've heard some people complain that the CGI doesn't hold up. I know words, I promise. But I feel like it's 1995. If you're expecting like 2020 level CGI, you're going to be disappointed. But for its time, it was really good. And the fact that, people like me can still watch and, feel bad watching this nuclear holocaust melt alive is, it's, just a really, really well-crafted scene.
I agree. So, do you put out content on YouTube at all, or are you just mainly? Go ahead.
Basically, when I'm with doing something with you or Elvin, I want to start to get to streaming again, but I need to get set my ducks in a row, and unfortunately, all my ducks are squirrels. But as soon as I start streaming on my channel again, I promise I will let everybody know, put out the proper word and all that.
Cool deal. Yeah. So obviously be sure to, try to get with us and Olvin a little bit more often if you can find the time. It's fun to have you on there.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Just let me know. And if my schedule permits, I'd love to be here. This
cool,
was absolute fun.
Yeah. Appreciate you being on here. Talking a little bit about Destoroyah. It's been a lot of fun, sir. And I appreciate you taking the time out for me.
I appreciate you having me, man.
As for the rest of you watching this, once I get it up, the rest of the weekend is kind of open for me. I know next Sunday, Olvin and I will be doing Silver Screen Savants, moving it from Saturday because that's my wife's birthday. So we're doing it Sunday. And we're going to review James Bond's Octopussy, my pick.
That's a good movie.
Yes. And then on the 10th, I'll be joining Kevin Lambert on his Entertainment Headquarters channel for the Retro Show, which again, this time around is my pick. I've chosen Raw Deal with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then I will update everybody the rest of the week on what my Ghouls of Midnight pick is and all that. But I do know that Tony and I are reaching almost 100 episodes. So we're going to do a live show. We'll probably review a couple of films that we chose for the week, but then we're going to give you our top 10 films that we've discovered through our Ghouls of Midnight series throughout the year and rank those. So be looking for that. I got to figure out what day we're going to do that. Probably have to be like a Friday or Saturday. But either way, thank you again, sir, for joining me. It's been a pleasure. And just hang around after I'm done with the outro. But for the rest of you, like and subscribe. Give us your comments. What do you feel about this particular kaiju? Do you like the movie? Do you like the kaiju itself? Is it the most devastating kaiju in your opinion, or are we still having that debate? Is it Mechagodzilla? Is it King Ghidorah? What do you think? Let us know your thoughts. We'll see you next time on the Meltdown Radio Podcast.
Have a good one, everybody.
You see me before you die.